You talking about? Oh, you're talking about. There's not anything right now. It very rarely goes on the market.
Okay.
Cottages, not the cottages, but the oaks at Mill Creek.
I know it. That's the reason I wasn't doing that today. Yeah.
In the what? In the. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's almost no turnover, but I'll sure keep you in mind. If I see something hit, I'll call you. Yes, that is. Well, your home's beautiful. I've seen it on Facebook. It's so pretty. Well, they do your yard there, which is nice.
That really does make a difference if everybody in the neighborhood's on the same yard schedule.
Yep. Oh, they are, and they're very spacious. My mother-in-law lived there. Are you in, Oh, yeah. I love that little, you got one that just hit in there.
I know.
A house just went on the market in there. I think. I believe. Well, that's a good size. Yeah.
I'll call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that Ms. Malcolm, Mr. Dickinson of the Public Safety Committee are here in attendance tonight, along with several members of the citizenry of Monroe, which we're glad to see you here tonight, and glad you could join us. You know, I guess first of all, we're going to need a motion to approve the agenda before we go forward.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move in a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. I wanted to just make a couple of comments to start with. I think back a few weeks ago, in particular around the 4th of July, in that early part of July, I had some correspondence coming to me and concerning some citizens' concerns about things going on. And we had some of that already ongoing, had a little bit of an increase. Last month, we had a citizen speak at the council meeting concerning, some concerns that he had, and I know others have that live in that particular area over there. So I thought it was a good idea that we have a committee meeting and come together tonight and just, talk about some of these issues and see where we need to go and see if anybody's got any ideas on things we can continue to improve on. But so that's sort of the reason for the meeting tonight, and I will get to some comments from the floor in a few minutes. But the other thing I want to do tonight, since we're having a Public Safety Committee meeting, is recently, I know Chief Watts had some promotions within his department, and he's got a full complement of command staff, and he has some of those, I think, at least ones that Captain Hanson couldn't be here tonight, but some of the others are. So I'm going to ask the chief. I've had the opportunity to meet and talk with these fine gentlemen and appreciate each one of them, but I think it's everybody on the council, and I'm sure everybody in the public has not had that opportunity. So I'm going to ask the chief if he would introduce these people and tell a little bit about them and what their experience level or background is.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bradley. So yeah, I got 3 of my command staff with me here tonight, and we did just recently do some promotions. I'm going to start out with Major Matt McClung. McClung, if you would stand for him. Major McClung's been with the City of Monroe Police Department for the past 20 years. He served in several capacities as Uniform Patrol Division Commander. He's been over our Joint Operations Units at the time, and he was the SWAT Team Commander for many years. I think he's just recently starting to hand those reins over to Captain Davis, reluctantly, but he is handing those reins over. But he's been with us 20 years, been in law enforcement 23 years, I believe, correct? And just been a great asset to us. And also we have here tonight, it was a recent promotion, is Captain Brent Davis. Captain Davis is, he's been with the organization now going on 9 years, but he has a total of 17 years in law enforcement. Early in his career, he was big in traffic and still continues to do such with our organization as well. But he was the lieutenant over Criminal Investigation Division. He also serves as lieutenant in Uniform Patrol Division, and he does a lot of the training with the SWAT team and fixing to take over as the SWAT team commander, or already has. And he does a lot with our recruiting and vetting out officers that apply for our agency, and does the physical training portion of that as well. Talented young man and has a bright future, and we look forward to him even progressing beyond where he's at today. And last but not least is Captain John Pilgrim. Captain Pilgrim is one of the old salty dogs. He's been around for 25 years in law enforcement, and he's been a captain now for approximately 3 years, I believe. Is that correct? And been with the organization for 16 years. Comes with a wealth of knowledge. He's managed my criminal investigation division. He's been a lieutenant in Uniform Patrol Division. He served with myself and Major McClung on the SWAT team years ago, but brings a wealth of knowledge. And he also has a extensive history in traffic enforcement as well. So got a wealth of knowledge here. He runs my criminal investigation division now, and just does a phenomenal job with that. And the last captain I have is Captain Tracy Hanson. Anybody who's local here at City of Monroe, Captain Hanson, she's born and raised here, City of Monroe, just recently been promoted in the last few months, and has an extensive background as well. She's worked narcotics, worked canine. She was detached out to the DEA task force in Atlanta. Has recently came back. She's attended the Columbus State Command College, got her master's degree through Command College, and in January we signed her up. She'll be going to the FBI Academy, to the National Academy. So she's got an extensive background as well. She brings a wealth of knowledge. She couldn't be here tonight, so she's out of town on vacation. But those are the individuals that represent the command staff of the City of Monroe Police Department, and I have full confidence in each and every one of them and their abilities and capabilities.
Thank you, Chief. Do you have anyone else on staff here you'd like to introduce?
I do. I have my administrative assistant, Mary Knott. She's here. Mary, if you'd stand. Mary's been with us for 7 years now, I believe. Is that correct? We keep her so stirred up she don't know. So Mary's job is to try to keep me straight, and I can assure you that is a full-time job. And at the same time, she helps babysit these gentlemen on the front row as well. So she tries to keep us all straight, and we keep her pretty busy. But she does a phenomenal job, and we're very grateful and thankful to have her. And I also have in here tonight my my pastor from 1025 Church, who also serves as one of the chaplains for the City of Monroe Police Department, and that's Tommy Fountain. I'm grateful to have him here with us tonight as well.
Thank you, Chief. I wanted you to introduce Mary, because I think she's the glue that holds things together right there.
She does. She does.
So we all appreciate her. We appreciate all these people and what you do. And I think it's important to just note the years of experience he talked about just in these, 3 people right here. I mean, that's a wealth of experience, and they've gone through multiple levels of things on the patrol and the SWAT unit and CID, et cetera. So we appreciate what you do. Thank you. Congratulations on those of you that just got promotions. So I said, we talked about some concerns that I've heard. I think, there are 3 areas that I have heard some concerns on. Some of you may have some others you want to mention tonight, but the 3 areas I've heard, one is the traffic enforcement or speeding on the streets. As we have more traffic on the streets, more cars on the street, and it seems like they're going faster. That's one. The second one is on what I call crimes against property and people, the kind of crimes that we don't like at all. And that's the second one. And then the third one is, I call it code cleanup. Some of the places that we've got that are less than desirable, and what we can do from a code standpoint to try to improve some of those areas. So those are the 3 things that I want to hear us talk about tonight. But before we talk about them specifically, I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the public that would like to make any comments. Anyone that would, sure, come on up. I would ask you to come to the podium, to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and then share your comments or concerns. Just we'll try to keep them brief, something less than 5 minutes.
I'm Diane Wilson. I live at 701 Davis Street, and I've come before the council several times. First of all, I wanted to publicly thank Mr. Spears, the new code officer or code marshal. He met with me, and I've seen a few changes taking place after he became on board. and I appreciate that very much. I had something happen to me the other day, talking about safety, and we had a shooting on the 4th of July at the corner of Pine Park in Davis. Then we had a gentleman that lives on the corner there that had his truck, some big rocks thrown at it that are in those little roundabout things. And the other morning, I was out watering, and a car pulled up beside my lot and hollered at me, and I went over to see what they wanted, and the gentleman said, does our noise, our music bother you? And I really wasn't prepared at that time to answer the question. It kind of took me by surprise. And I just said, well, where? What are you talking about? And he said, over here on the corner. Does it bother you? And I just kind of said, well, somewhat I hear it, but I was just not really committal about saying, yes, it bothers me terribly, because quite frankly, I was afraid of retaliation. And I just kind of answered it but didn't answer it. So that really bothered me. And then the second thing is I do not understand about slumlords. I don't understand how they can get away with having property, not taking care of it, knowing that people that live there can tear things up. I understand that. But I don't know why something can't be done about it, because it's their property. Why wouldn't they want to keep it up? Unless they just don't want to spend the money. And I don't see how things are going to get any better. I have my house up for sale, and the reason I'm selling it is because of what's going on. And I realize I made the decision to buy there, but I made it based on what my agent told me, which was totally not true, but be that as it may, I can't sell my house because of all that's going on. And I know it'll probably take some time, but I just think the city somehow could do something to make these slumlords clean up their property. And also the music, and I have recordings of the music. I sit out on my back steps and record it. And if anybody's interested in listening to what I have to listen to every day, it's horrible. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. I think since we just had that, I'm going to ask Mr. Probst, he might speak to the issue of the slumlords, the code issues in general, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Apologize, I'm a little hoarse today. Yeah, so we now have 3 full-time marshals, boots on the ground. We really got started this summer with all 3 marshals in service. And then what I've done to try to keep a better eye on it myself is have them do daily reporting in a system that I can access. And so just for example, these 3 individuals since just June 27th have written a total of 424 repair cleanup notices or citations, which is light years beyond where we were. So I think we are moving it in the right direction. Now, please keep in mind, too, Georgia has very strong property rights, so we need to understand that. So these landlords, they do have very strong vested interest in the law here. At the same time, we have to enforce our code provisions. We have plenty on the books that we can go after without adding anything new, without adding any new laws here locally. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I've given the instruction to be aggressive to all of our code enforcement folks, from the marshals to building enforcement, whatever they see, whatever they need to take care of and enforce, to do that. I just want everybody here to understand that it will eventually step on some toes. So that is the give and take, because we have a lot of people here who may be small-time players and are landlords, and they have rental properties. We also have the big players, but we're going to treat everyone equally, and I think that's what our marshals are doing. They're running through some of the more wealthy streets at the same time as they're hitting a lower income area. because we don't want to discriminate against anyone. So it's a very big balancing act, but we are making more headway than we have in the most recent past. But we're doing very well, in my opinion, right now. I think, to this lady's point, Davis Street has been hit pretty hard. I myself do ride-alongs down through there. I've noticed a huge turnaround in some of the properties. Now, it's going to take concerted effort by all of our staff to stay on them, to make sure that they don't go the other way. But I think there has been some progress made. And of course, if there's something egregious out there, please feel free to contact us. Let us know what you see, because I still only have 3 guys, and they're running rotation around the city, so they can't be everywhere all the time every day. So just please let us know if you see something.
Logan, could you also explain how code just can't come into a house?
What can and cannot be done maybe to help some of these code for infractions?
You know, without getting into the details of each individual case, there's a lot that can be seen from the street that we can write up according to our own local ordinances, okay? If there's a hole in a roof that we can clearly see, that's a structural issue, we can write that up. We can't make entry without some probable cause. In Georgia, you can't make entry unless the tenant allows you in, and a lot of times, unfortunately, the tenants do not want to allow code enforcement or the police in for fear of being displaced, or the landlord has to let you in, and generally they're not going to do that. I may be missing a few other elements, Paul, but you know, that's the gist of it. You know, at one point we were looking at doing utility inspections between renters. There were a couple of cases that made it to the Georgia Supreme Court that squashed the abilities for cities to do that. Other states do have those abilities. Michigan has a rental registry. Several other states have these rental registries where you can do these inspections. Georgia does not. So we're doing everything that we can do by the letter of the law as we have it in the state of Georgia and with our codes. But our codes locally do allow us to do a lot. Just from what I've seen, we really just have to stay on it time and time again, over and over. So in the process, let me explain that process. You get a repair cleanup notice first. That's your first piece of paper. Now, a lot of times, if it's something really small, our marshals are going to try to work with the people and just have some face-to-face interaction. Hey, can you cut the grass? I see you out here. Can you pick up some of this trash? Sure. Nobody wants to get papered up. If not, if it's a persistent issue, it moves to a repair cleanup notice. They have 14 days to comply. If that 14-day provision is not met, they will come back and hit them with a citation. That citation will then take them to municipal court, where it will be adjudicated. So it's a long process. You may say, hey, this guy's grass has been tall for roughly 30 days. Well, it may have already been written up with a citation, and it may be awaiting adjudication in municipal court. It's not a quick fix. It's just something that we have to stay on top of. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes the law takes a little while to get through.
And I'll
You
just
mentioned
add,
a few minutes ago, the people had something they should contact. Who should they contact?
Yeah, you can call the code enforcement office, city marshals, and make those reports.
I was just going to add for the, what I'll call some of the more problem properties that people see. One of the biggest things that the marshals struggle with, and that our office struggles with on ones that end up all the way into municipal court, is a lot of times these properties are in complete derelict condition. Is there's a problem locating the owners themselves. So you have estates where you have folks who have passed away, and the heirs at law either don't even know that they own it or aren't doing anything about it. So we have several of those that we deal with on a regular basis where the marshals are trying to get a hold of them, or we're trying to file nuisance actions in municipal court on them, which is another path that we can take from time to time. But a lot of times the really bad parcels that are unoccupied that you see, there's an ownership issue of who's in, nobody's in charge of it at that point. And We have one right now where a bank foreclosed on it, and it's an out-of-state bank that owns it, and so they're going to work with us, but they don't have boots on the ground, and we're, you know, and serving them is an issue, so it's not an easy fix to any of them, but I just wanted y'all to make that notation for folks to understand. Sometimes we don't know who owns it, or we have difficulty in contacting who owns it.
Any other members of the committee?
Yeah, Mr. Bradley, I'd like to make some comments. And I want to address my comments to the folks in the audience, and particularly to you and your concerns about your house on Davis Street. I have lived on Church Street now for 40 years. When Rita and I first moved to Church Street, we encountered an awful lot of the same thing that you're encountering back there on Davis. And bluntly, when we first moved over there, people said, well, y'all are crazy. What do you want to move to that neighborhood for? It's going to hell. It's got all kinds of problems. Slumlords are buying up those houses, cutting them up into apartments. That beautiful 1897 house that's next door to ours, I saw a person get thrown through a window over there one night in that house. That's how bad it was. At that time, that house belonged to a member of the city council. It was chopped up into 4 apartments, and all kinds of crazy things were going on. This is the key. Don't give up. Don't let those kinds of things run you out of your community. This mess with the shootings that we had back on July 4th. It's horrible that that happened in our city, but folks, that could happen anywhere. That can happen in any neighborhood, anywhere in Metro Atlanta, and as a matter of fact, goes on all the time. There is no place that's totally safe, and there's no place that's immune from that kind of conduct. When the council met for our retreat a couple of weeks ago, we talked about some of these issues, and I said then, and I say tonight, let's be careful about confusing apples and oranges. Yes, we have some problems with housing that isn't right, and we have numerous code violations, but that does not automatically equate with criminal conduct. What happened over there on July 4th is criminal conduct. You have people who are just dyed-in-the-wool criminals. They're damn determined to do whatever criminal thing they can on any given day, and they just don't care. And what I think we need to do collectively as a city is we need to send a message to those folks, you're not welcome here. This is not going to be tolerated in Monroe. If that's how you want to behave, find yourself some other place to do it. Now, one of the things that I very much believe in life is you put your money where your mouth is. So I own property on Davis Street. I got citations at 2 of my rental houses back there because the grass was too high. Well, we cut the grass. That's the low-hanging fruit. It ain't no major thing. It's the criminal conduct we've got to stop. And we've got to stop people like the property owner who owns those duplexes across from you, who's one of these people who will buy a property, slum it up, just so he can cheapen the values of surrounding property so maybe he can buy it. That's what we're fighting. The key to it is to have those properties cleaned up and be at a price point where that math doesn't work anymore. So I'm moving to Davis Street. I'm going to be your neighbor now back on Davis Street. Rita and I are going to move into 509 Davis Street. I bought the old warehouse that's at 511 Davis Street. I'm gonna make that into my garage for my cars that I restore or hope to restore. And I think what is happening on the west end of that street is going to continue to move on down the street. There are a lot of good folks that live back there, and they're like you. They're trapped by the criminal element that's back there, and we just need to put an end to it. And I said in the meeting, the police department needs to have a presence back there. And I know we've got staffing issues and financial constraints and all that sort of thing. But this is the truth. Criminals don't like the police. Criminals run away when the police show up. It's like, you know, cockroaches. You shine that light on them, they start scattering. We've got to get a presence back there, I think, on the ground and not necessarily just driving up and down the streets, because our police department's got to make the connections with the good folks who live back there who are trapped like you are and have to put up with that crap on a daily basis. And they never know, you know, is their little baby they put in the bed at night going to get shot because some yahoo's driving up and down the street just shooting at random? That's how little kids get killed in their house just trying to live a normal life. That's what we're fighting. But if everybody just says, well, I give up and I'm going to move away, we never get anywhere. We got to dig in. We got to fight them every day. And part of that is to get into that community. We've got to do something to have more of a presence. And then I'll shut up after this. I was back there working in my warehouse this weekend, and a fellow whose name escapes me at the moment, or I'd name him, but he's driving up and down Davis Street in his car, and he apparently respects the speed tables when he goes over them because he doesn't want to damage that car, but he doesn't respect the street in between. So he'll creep over the speed table, then he floors it wide open until he gets to the next speed table. That's the problem that a lot of folks back there are seeing and hearing. We've got to get after that a little bit. And, you know, it's not easy. If it was easy, we wouldn't be having this discussion at all. So I just would ask you, dig in. Don't ever give up, because we have come light years in the last couple of decades. We still got a ways to go, but we've come a long way. I yield.
Ms. Malcolm, you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I certainly ditto everything that has been said tonight, and this has been an ongoing problem. I do feel that we have now more patrol officers available that can help us. We're constantly trying to find within our budget the dollars to be able to increase the police force, and that is something that we're going to have to put as a priority in our next budget. Chief Watts has given us a recommendation, and I think we're going to need to look seriously at increasing the number of officers that are on the streets in order to have a presence and have a consistent presence, you know, in those areas and all over town, whether it be just on Church Street with the speeding and the abuse of the speed tables that are there, that I don't know that you call those speed tables, but it's everywhere. And the only way we're going to be able to make an impact is to increase our force.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Chief Watts to comment on some of this, but I think before we do, one of the things that, when you hear about shootings, that's always, I guess, the scariest thing that goes on when you hear shootings, because people can get killed, you know, as a result of this. I'm curious, Chief Watts, in your police actions you've taken over the last year, last several months or whatever. Are we getting any guns off the street?
Oh, absolutely, Mr. Bradley. I can tell you those numbers as well. In 2020, my officers took a total of 138 guns off the streets here in the city of Monroe. In 2021, they took a total of 109 guns off the street. And already this year, they've taken a total of 49 guns off the street. And 20 of those 49 was taken out of that area where we're talking about back over where you live. So we're proactive in those areas, and we're very familiar. And like I said, you know, for my staffers right here, they've been here a long time. I've been here 20 years. And I want to just, you know, convey to you that I understand your concerns. I myself have been a victim. I've had my car shot up in my driveway. I've had my house shot up with my family inside. So I have a burning desire to catch all these individuals that are involved in the criminal element and activity on our streets here in the city of Monroe. I've dedicated my life to this community and to these streets, and these gentlemen sitting right here, as well as Captain Hanson, have done the same. And you have an excellent police force, I will tell you that. You have an excellent police force that is actively patrolling the streets on a regular basis. I don't think you ever get to a point where you say we have arrived, because as the city continues to grow, as houses continue to be built, as more people continue to move to the city, more people mean we're going to have more issues. Now, that area back there that we're talking about, the Lacey Street area, back in those areas, you know, Mr. Dixon's right. There's a lot of good people back there. Not only have I patrolled the streets here as a police officer, I've also been on the streets with my church and went back there and actively tried to pick kids up and take them to Vacation Bible School, try to be a mentor to them, trying to change that culture. The length of time I've been here, I've dealt with grandparents, I've dealt with parents, and now we're dealing with the kids and the grandkids. It's a generational cycle of some of the issues that we're dealing with. And, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about, you know, why don't we do this, why don't we do that? But you got to somehow figure out a way to break that cycle. And the only way that I have seen that's even possible breaking that cycle is having the consistent involvement. You know, I told you my pastor's in here, and he's very active with the church of not only going in the streets, but also in the schools and trying to make a difference in the kids' life and trying to be that mentor to change the mentality of the streets. Because what I've seen on the streets is, you know, if mom and dad's not actively involved in these children's lives, then the streets take over. And the kids learn how to survive on the streets. They learn how to break the law and just be disrespectful and have no strong morals, values, or beliefs. And, you know, again, we're met with challenges on a regular basis. And just for example, Sunday night at home, we had another shooting. We had a shooting up on the north end of town in Tanglewood. We had a 17-year-old kid shot in the leg. I probably had 20 officers I had to call in to work Sunday night. These guys worked all through the night, even all into the next morning, and investigated that case, investigated the crime scene, gathered enough probable cause and evidence to be able to execute a no-knock search warrant. They had to activate the SWAT team, come in, do briefings, and they made entry and were able to bring one suspect into custody. But Mr. Dixon is also right about this, that those good people that are back in those communities, they're just as trapped. Now, I will say this. I, along with these gentlemen here, have built some really good relationships in those communities. But these individuals know that they can't let it be known that they're the one that's communicating with law enforcement out of fear of retaliation. So I respect that. I would never throw any of their names out there. But, you know, make no mistake, we have that community involvement in those areas. A lot of good people there. And we want to make it better than what it is. And I can tell you we've worked narcotics operations. We've done undercover buys. We've done confidential informant buys. We have brought FBI in. We've done federal roundups. We continue to look for better ways to make the greatest impact in those areas. But those have been problem areas for longer than 20 years. Those have been problem areas before I even arrived on scene. But I can tell you from the law enforcement standpoint, we understand and we have consistently and aggressively been patrolling those areas, trying to make the biggest impact as we possibly can.
Thank you, Chief. I also was thinking that, you know, there are a lot of I hope everybody agrees, a lot of great things going on within the city of Monroe over the last few years. And as a result of that, a lot of people come to Monroe. You know, and so we get crowds of people here, particularly during the daytime and early evening. You know, there are lots of people come in. One thing that we did recently at the chief's suggestion is put some cameras out on the entrance exits to the city that monitors cars that are coming into the city and leaving the city and where they are, and because it looks at tag numbers. And I'm going to ask Chief to comment on it because it's paying off and we're catching criminals as a result of this. So you can just give some comments.
Yes, sir. Not really something we promoted a lot because we don't want to give up our tactics of how we're able to effectively make arrests. But what you've seen around town is we've implemented 16 flock cameras. I think a lot of people get these confused with the school zone cameras because I've had numerous phone calls, people calling me saying, hey, RV, I just went by one of your radars over here, so, you know, look out for me. I said, it's not a radar, it's a tag reader. But Mr. Bradley's correct. You know, we got them all over the city on your entries and exits to come in the city. And what it is it's a tag reader that keeps data on every vehicle that comes inside our city and leaves the city. And it's been crucial in investigating crimes. When we do get information, if a crime's committed and we're able to get the vehicle information, we can put it out on GCIC. Not only does our city utilize these camera systems, but there's surrounding areas like your Athens, Newton County, and so forth that have the same camera system. And that has helped us on numerous occasions on tracking our suspects. But it's also been crucial. I mean, I can sit here and give you a few examples. Last Friday, Friday morning, I got a phone call about 7 o'clock from a concerned business owner and citizen here in the city of Monroe that said their 85-year-of-age dad, who has dementia, has just left, got in a vehicle and left. So I immediately contacted my command staff and said, hey, let's get on this if we can't find this gentleman. They checked the flock cameras. They saw the vehicle had left Highway 11 south. They gave us information that possibly could be going to South Carolina. So my officers got on the ball. They started contacting all the surrounding agencies. We were able to locate this guy within a couple hours, but he was all the way in Morgan County at a hotel in Morgan County and did not know where he was at and why he was there. So that was brought to a good resolve. You may remember the violent homicide that we worked, on Easter with the mother that was murdered, in front of her children. We received information on that vehicle, and I can't commend these officers enough. You know, they were able to look at other homes' Ring camera systems, got a identity on the vehicle, get a tag. We put that information out. We tracked the vehicle where it actually was going into Newton County, and got a location of it going to Newton County. One of my other detectives was able to activate the OnStar on the vehicle, and we located that vehicle parked behind a residence amongst a bunch of other abandoned cars in the wood line. And I would say within 5 hours, we were able to make an arrest on the murder suspect, but it was a murder kidnapping as well. He had kidnapped his young little daughter. I think she may have been two years of age. And so we were able to recover the little girl and get the suspect in custody in that short time frame. And then we had another one just a couple years ago, I believe, we had another murder suspect, and we were able to locate the vehicle in Newton County. So this is just one of those tools that is a force multiplier for our organization that helps us out. Now, I had Captain Davis pull data on it. He's been instrumental in getting this program off the ground. But he pulled data on this yesterday, and I want you to keep in mind this number I'm fixing to give you is pretty large, but anything that's entered on GCIC, from an expired tag, from no insurance, to stolen vehicle, to a wanted person, that's going to hit. And every one of my officers has the software on their phone, so they can, if any one of these cameras alerts us, it goes to their cell phones, and they look down. And the reason we do that is so, depending on where the officer's at, the closest one can respond to whatever gets notified on GCIC. But Captain Davis just pulled the data yesterday from July 1st to August 1st. We had a total of how many hits, Captain Davis? Just over 17,000. 17,000. And I think, I don't think people realize just how much traffic comes through the city of Monroe. Now, don't get me wrong, it's Highway 78 now. That's, you can imagine the traffic that comes up down Highway 78 in a 30-day time frame, but also Highway 11 as well. But that's what's coming through the city. That's how many hits that we're getting on vehicles. And again, keep in mind, that can be anything from expired tag to no insurance, things of that nature. But that just shows you how effective this system is. And of course, we can modify it to say we just want to look for, our felons or no insurance or suspended registration or whatever. We can modify our search to where we're only picking up the major incidents versus, we're not trying to stop everybody for an expired tag. I mean, we'd be too busy if that's what we was working on. But still, it's a super effective tool. And let me just say something else, if you don't mind, Mr. Bradley. Another tool that we just recently implemented with our criminal investigation division, and of course, Captain Pilgrim kind of led the charge on this, was as we continue to grow in the future, cybercrime is becoming huge. And a lot of the evidence we gather now on criminal activity is on these right here. Because everybody's going to talk and text, and everybody's going to post something on social media or post it on Instagram, whatever the case may be. And we originally had a system called Cellbrite, and we continue to use Cellbrite, which, we have to write search warrants. And I'll tell you right here real quick how many search warrants, if I can find my data. Is it the second page? Yes. So last year, we did 43 search warrants on cell phones, and already this year we've done 19. And that's dumping information off here. People think when you delete information off this that it's gone. Well, it's not gone. And it builds some of the best cases for us. And again, I'm telling you information that really not wanting to get out there, so criminals will be like, oh, well, I'm giving them the tricks of the trade. But Captain Pilgrim led charge on getting another system called Gray Key, which goes even more in depth to be able to get in these phones, like iPhones. You hear people tell you that they can't get in iPhones to get information. Well, I can tell you right there that is not true. There is software out there that will get in it and extract exactly what we need. So those are just a couple things that, again, have been like a force multiplier for us in updating with technology, and it's helped us to be able to enforce the laws even better and hold people accountable and bring them to justice. And that's just a couple things without going in a lot more detail. I could sit here and brag about this organization all night, but very proud of the steps we're taking moving forward.
Anyone else that'd like to come up and make any comments? Okay. Yes, come on.
I'm just going to read what I prepared to, if
Or
that's
could you
okay.
give us your name and address,
Yes.
please?
I'm Catherine Holbrook. I live at 612 East Church Street with my husband and almost 2-year-old daughter. We moved here 6 years ago and are very excited about the direction that the city has taken and the growth that has occurred over these 6 years. We love to walk with our daughter to Pilot Park and enjoy attending the concerts and events the city puts together. However, it seems like the crime in our area has only continued to increase, and we find ourselves more and more concerned about our safety and the safety of our daughter. A few years ago, before the Monroe Country Day School took over the building, there were gunshots fired at the community center, 2 doors down from our house. We were sitting on our screened-in porch and clearly heard the shots, followed by teenagers running, screaming in every direction. We were terrified watching the kids running through our front yard and are extremely thankful no one was injured in that incident. More recently, our neighbors down the street have had a guy crash through their fence and into their porch because he was bleeding out from a bullet wound he received around the corner from their house, and they also had a stray bullet flying to their home. Another one of our neighbors discovered a lot of shell casings in the street and a bullet hole in his company van. A lot of evenings we hear gunshots coming from the streets behind us, thankfully somewhat from a distance. We also consistently hear drag racing or burnouts directly behind our house. On streets that have a lot of pedestrian traffic, this is concerning. Our neighbors have also had things stolen from their yards or had their cars broken into in their own driveways. When I leave for work, most mornings I drive up High School Avenue, and more often than not, there's a car parked there with a person approaching on foot. I have seen them barely make contact with the driver and then keep on walking. My assumption would be that these are drug deals, but while I have nothing to prove that, it's concerning that this could be happening right around the corner from our house that is at a park that is frequented by families daily. What if one of these supposed deals goes wrong and they resort to violence? Or what if they drop drugs on the ground and the children find them? Speaking about all these events together does not make it sound like we are living on a close-knit residential street in the middle of an up-and-coming city. How do we expect to attract young families who are going to pour into the city and help it continue to grow and advance if events like these are becoming more common? We would love to raise a family here, and if and when we are blessed with more children, but if we choose to stay here, are we going to put our lives and the lives of our young children at risk by doing so? Our city's website states that our rich history draws visitors and our small-town atmosphere entices them to stay. Is that statement going to remain true if the crime right outside of downtown continues to climb? We would love to see an increased police presence in our surrounding area in an effort to decrease the crime and improve the safety for the community. We don't want drug deals happening right by Popular Park, and we don't want to worry about stray bullets hitting our house. We chose Monroe, not downtown Atlanta, to start and grow our family because of the quality of life Monroe has been able to provide, until recent events have put that quality of life reputation in doubt. Thank you for your time.
Just what, can you wait? I'm sorry. You talk very fast, and I'm just
Sorry.
a southern boy that I listen very slow, so, you know, I miss some of that sometimes. I consider you were talking about finding shell casings. Is that in your yard, or?
No, that was at my neighbor's house down the street, a couple houses down.
Does that happen often, or is that,
We hear gunshots, but we don't necessarily find shell casings.
okay? And the person you think may be a drug dealer, is that the park?
At the park, I've seen a car parked there, some different cars parked there, multiple mornings when I'm driving to work.
Let me just ask Chief Watson on that. If she sees someone that she thinks may be a drug dealer, what should she do?
I mean, I think you should call 911 immediately and let them know what you're seeing. You know, that's suspicious activity. In order for my officers to make contact with somebody, they got to have articulable reasonable suspicion. And of course, depending on what you're seeing, you know, we have to be careful on how we engage, because I think sometimes it can be what looks like it to be, may not be, and then we can get into a mess because how we approach it. So we have to approach everything just depending on what evidence we have. But yeah, definitely call 911, report the suspicious activity, especially if you're seeing this on a regular basis. If you're seeing this, you know, you've already seen it 2 or 3 times, definitely contact us. And let me just say, that's the key to all this is communication. And before everybody leaves tonight, I would, you know, ask that you at least get my business card and get the business cards of my command staff here. You know, we have city-issued cell phones that the city pays for, and we will answer those phone calls if you contact us. But we need to know about any issues or concerns that you're seeing, any suspicious activity, so we can look into that and investigate it.
We appreciate you living on where you do on Church Street. I mean, I know a lot of people through there, and I mean, you appreciate you living there, and we want you to continue to live there. We want your family to be safe. And I think that the reason I asked Chief Watts that is, it is important that the police know when something's going on suspicious. So we just ask you to let us know, let them know when it's suspicious. But thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for the comments. I want to also make a couple of comments on speeding, because that's another thing I hear, that people driving too fast and speeding. And I think if we've increased traffic, we've increased the number of people speeding maybe. But, you know, I was talking to Chief Watts about this and how we can do other enforcement tools, and, you know, hopefully we're going to, in next year's budget, be able to add some more patrol people, so we'll be able to do a little bit more from a patrol standpoint. But, you know, patrol is only one leg of the stool, if you will, as far as speeding. We have built streets and made them and paved them and made them real nice, so it's easy to go fast. And people do that. And we have been and will continue to put some of these speed control devices or elements of speed tables or islands or whatever on the streets to try to slow people down. And folks can speak where we stand on all that, but it's an expensive proposition to do it. And when we did the islands on Church Street that everybody's familiar with, I guess, throughout the area, probably had as many complaints on those as anything we've done in the city that I've received.
You think?
Complaints that, yeah, anything we've done in the 11 years I've been on the council, you know, of things that went on. But you know, the bottom line is today, the goal of that was to slow people down and to cut down the number of trucks coming through, and that goal's been accomplished. Not perfect. I mean, you know, there's still people try to see how fast they can go around those islands. And there's still trucks that occasionally try to see how they can come through. But overall, it's accomplished its goal. And I think for us to accomplish the goal of slowing down speeding, we're going to have to do more of that type of thing. And so I'm going to ask those of you that are citizens to support us when we try to do those kind of things. Even though it may be an inconvenience for a while, and maybe we learn some lessons on Church Street, by the way, that we can do that easier and better, going forward. But the other part is it takes money to do that. So that's an expensive way to do it, but it's the best way to do it. And I can't campaign any for T-Splosh or any of these other taxing kind of things, but if you see alternative ways of money to come into the city, we appreciate you supporting that too, to help pay for traffic control, issues that come up. I just wanted to pass that on. Anyone else have anything?
Can I speak
you'd
to
like
that for just a little bit, Mr. Bradley? And give you a little bit of tricks of the trade here also. So you're going to see some of these traffic signs that, when you go by, that's telling you how fast you're going. We just recently put some on Breedlove and McDaniel. Those also collect data for us. And again, this is another force multiplier that we can go back and review that data and see when those key time frames are that people are speeding through those areas. We're familiar, we get complaints of speeding all the time, and I can tell you that these guys are definitely enforcing speeding and stuff, just by our citations. Last year, my officers wrote 1,151 citations. This year, they've already wrote 904, with 134 of those being for speeding. But again, we're trying to figure out other ways that we can combat the issues that directly involve the law enforcement area of operations. And that's just one of those things, again, if you see those signs around, that's another tool that we're using that will help us address those issues.
Thank you. Anyone, Mr. Dixon or Mr. Malcolm, you have anything else you want to discuss?
Well, I wanted to express concern again and hear from the public if they would like to share their concerns on this noise issue that we're having all around the city. It's not just vehicles or trucks, it's motorcycles, and it's becoming more than just a slight nuisance. It's really concerning for the quality of life in the downtown areas. And I know that we have to be careful, but I don't know if it's going to begin with a structured noise ordinance that we need to initiate to give you more leeway in policing that. But I think it's a very serious matter that we need to address as soon as possible.
Well, I want to say something about all of those issues in a more general context. And again, to the citizens, to the taxpayers of this community. When I was the mayor here 20-something years ago, our police department was exactly the same size that it is now. We have grown, times have changed, we got a lot of issues now in addition to what we had back then. I think it comes down to this. We have tough financial decisions to make. If, as a city, we're going to say to the criminal element, we don't want you here, we recommend you go elsewhere with your criminal activity, we've got to have a police force that is sufficient size to do that job. And I do not believe that we currently have a police department that's big enough to do all of the things that we need to do. So, when we look at our budget every year, we have certain allocations, and we are respectful of our taxpayers. We're going to do the rollback rate this year. Other government entities in this county are not going to do that. We think it's prudent considering what's going on in the national economy. But at a certain point, if folks want more safety, we have to put more officers on the street. There is just no other solution for it. The city has grown, we have taken in more territory, we have more subdivisions, we have more commercial development, and these folks can only cover so much. They cannot be everywhere all the time. So, again, we need citizens to stand with us and say, okay, we understand what you're doing, and we're willing to pay a little bit more to get that protection. Because it's not cheap. I mean, these guys, I've said this, I would not do the job they do for 3 or 4 times what they get paid. Every time they go to work, they know they may not be going home that night. That's about as tough as it gets. So it's hard to get good people. It's hard to retain good people. And we not only have to pay the salaries and the benefits, we got to provide all the equipment and all the training. So we all want to be safe, but sometimes we've got to make some hard financial decisions to achieve that. Where do we get the funding to do it? And we've had that discussion, but we need the support of our citizenry. If we collectively decide we're going to hire another half dozen officers and equip them, that's going to come at a pretty serious price tag, and we need your help. And then I'll shut up. Ms. Holbrook, I want to tell you this. The house you live in, that's the old Fleming house. That's the Tudor house. I think you're pretty safe there. I know the people that live behind you on Davis Street. They're very good people. They don't want any of that nonsense going on back there at their houses. And again, I sound like a broken record, but it's gotten a lot better. Because I didn't say this a while ago, but about a year and a half after we moved to Church Street, Rita's mother lived with us. And she was the victim of an armed robbery in our house at 512 East Church Street with our oldest daughter in the house at the time, hiding in a closet because she was afraid this guy was going to kill her grandmother. Now, there hadn't been an incident like that on Church Street since, and I hope to God there'll never be another one, but it's gotten better. Pilot Park, when we moved to Church Street, there was nothing over there. It was pretty much abandoned, and on a daily basis, people were over there selling drugs. People were over there engaging in sex. Of course, at least they've waited till after dark to do that. We've come light years. So let's don't think the situation now is worse than it really is. It isn't. Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Good evening. My name is Susan Walker. I live at 220 Felker Street, and I agree with you 100%. And I don't know what the solution is. I know you guys are working night and day. I really do. Moved here 3 years ago in May. My street has always been a little noisy, but nothing like Davis. I mean, and I'm real close to Davis. But I'm losing 2 people, my friend and my cousin. And that's one of the reasons she's moving. Is she calls, you all probably know her, Miss Kay. She calls every weekend, Friday night, at least 3 to 4 times, and she'll go, "The band has started." She said it's like a full-blown concert in the backyard. She's had pictures almost fall off the wall. And our houses are new, so they've got great insulation and great windows. I have the same thing. You hear it going down, boom, 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 and it literally shakes your house. Miss Diane had it happen at 7 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, I feel safe. I really do. And these guys, I know if I call them, they're going to be there. And I agree with you. We've got to step it up. So we're going to have to pay more because by the time we call them and we say the car just went by, well, that doesn't do them any good because by the time they get there, or they go in to tell those people, you got to turn your music down, they are gone 5 minutes and it's cranked back up. Now Kay says, give them a ticket, please. And she begs them to ticket them. And I know you probably are. And I don't know if they can go so long with so many tickets. I know that's a concern, and I agree with you. We've got to nip it in the bud. Will it ever be solved completely? No, because like you're saying, there is no perfect place to live. I love this town. I love where I live. I have a 95-year-old father that lives there with me. Thank goodness he's hard of hearing. He doesn't hear it half the time. So, I go, Dad, did you hear it? What noise? So, and I make a joke of it, and I don't complain to you guys. I don't call you because I don't have it like Diane and my cousin have it. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. It is constant. And it doesn't start just at night. It starts 6, 7 o'clock at night. And she said, I have to listen to the foulest language. She said, I feel so sorry for those young children over there that are being exposed to this. And I don't know what the solution. I think there's a lot of people here in Monroe that would be more than willing to help in any way we can. And I know times are hard economically and financially, but we'd all give more if we could get more of you guys to help. And you all are one person trying to do an Army's job, and I know that. So I don't have the solution, but I'd like to hear what we could do and plan on a solution, because I know we can do it as a community. We can do it. So, thank you.
I will say that for the last few years, we have added some staff to the police department, but I agree with Mr. Dickinson, we're not nearly where we need to be. But now, we've added some each year, and we'll, I'm sure, add some more for next year. And we'll continue to work on that. I appreciate everybody that's here tonight, and I hear what you're saying, and I think other members of the council do, and I know our police department does. We believe we're making some progress, but we're not naive to think we're where we need to be. And neither are the people in the police department. They know. I mean, I talk with the chief on a regular basis, and we talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that he wants to accomplish and some of the things we need to do to go forward. He's actively doing several things, some of which you can talk about and some of which you can't because of the nature of police work, of what is going to take in this area. It is a high crime area. We get a lot of 911 calls, coming out of the area, and we realize that. And he's putting more police presence as he can, into that. I think we need to follow what Ms. Malcolm said about noise ordinance. We've got cars, motorcycles making noise, but we also have people making noise in the yard. So it's a multiple noise kind of a thing. And I'm asked Chief Watts if he'll look into this a little bit and come back. If we need to adopt additional ordinances, from the city, then we need to know that so we can get the ordinances written and done, and implemented. So maybe you can look at that and come back to us with a recommendation. Again, I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. Thank you very much. We're going to continue to work on this project. This is not, your concerns are not landing on deaf ears. And even though we've tried to tell you some of the things we're doing, we know we're not where we need to be. And we're not trying to make excuses. We know we've got to keep going. I urge you, as the chief said, get their business cards, call them if you got issues. I know Chief Watts would welcome you to come visit him in his office at the police department and let him sit down and he can go over a lot more details with you one-on-one if you want to, sit down and talk with him out there. I know I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think you would welcome that. Right?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to entertain anybody who wants to come to the police department, and we can talk more in depth of the issues that we're currently dealing with. But just to piggyback just a little bit off of your concerns of the loud music, I wanted to at least say, Mr. Dixon's already said, it is a staffing. We're going to have to increase the patrol force. But Major McClung, in looking at these things, he just implemented something the other day, which I thought was a great tactic, and that is officers that are normally off, are now afforded opportunity if they want to come in and make overtime. They can come in and work, and they're working those specific areas as well on top of, because any given time I have 7 officers on the street, patrolling the streets, city of Monroe. So that's, and I think you've already started to schedule signing officers up to be coming in, and I think a couple of them at a time that are assigned to work those areas because of the issues and concerns that we're hearing so much about to help address that.
Thank you. And thank you again for being here. Anyone have anything else that we need to bring up tonight? Then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second for adjournment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight.